Were you at IMG training for the combine?
Yeah, is that where you were?
Yeah, that's where I went as well. And that was like, I think my first introduction to the Luke Kuechly. You had like yourself a little mural on the wall, and they're like, that guy was the overall pick.
That was
year.
so fun.
Dude,
did you have
IMG
fun?
really is an awesome place because there's no, like I was a big time partier in college and then, got a little straight as I got into the league. But like when you're in Bradenton, Florida, there's like newlyweds and nearly deads. There's no in between. There's no nightlife or nothing. So it was me and like the 30 other guys that were training.
Awesome.
That's all we had. We had like a small little shitty, those little apartments are just off of the IMG campus.
You had the golf cart?
Yeah, the golf cart you're ripping around in. You thought
it was the first time you had a little freedom?
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
You got a golf cart in your own place.
But it's also well regimented. I loved it there. Were you thinking about between there and Exos?
No, because the guys, so Mark Herzlich and then Anthony Costanzo.
Mm-hmm. Costanzo's a gangster.
So
Boston College guy too.
Yeah, so they were the year ahead of me in the draft. So Anthony got drafted in the first round by the Colts, and then Mark went to the Giants. And those guys trained at IMG, and I went to school with them, and I was like, guys, Exos or IMG? And they're like, just go to IMG. We went there, it was sick. We enjoyed it. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. It was sick.
Yeah, their entire
it's your spot, JP.
Yeah,
JP worked there.
Because IMG, I feel like they do it better than anybody else as far as like getting guys ready for the combine. Because they don't just do the weightlifting and the running, but they have classrooms to like go over media stuff, like almost improvisation classes. To okay, you're throwing off with this. What do you do now? What do you say to X, Y, and Z? They bring up maybe some things that aren't so great about you, like how are you going to attack this situation? So I think IMG was such a great experience.
It's so funny you do all that work, and then when I worked with the team, the first year I got done playing, I worked with a team in the scouting department, and you can pull up all your profiles of, combine and, every, report written on you and height, weight, speed and all your tape. And so I was like, got bored one day and I looked at it, and I looked at my combine interview with the Panthers. Mm-hmm. It's a disaster.
Really?
Yeah. I was like sitting, I had my glasses on. I was nervous. I was probably sweating, and I was super, like, they'd ask me a question like, yes, that's cover 4. And I'm like, gosh, you suck. You sound so bad right now.
Isn't it nuts how, obviously getting drafted, like I met with the Titans, and I was probably the same way, but a year removed, seeing those same familiar faces now in that room. Look how timid you are.
Oh, you're so scared, man. And
because the train station is no joke.
Yeah.
Like that combine experience did you have a good combine experience?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think that first night of those interviews, because you have the train station, which is like, they can just come and grab you, obviously. And then the one-on-ones where they put you in the room, where it's only 15 minutes, and the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes are them introducing themselves, and the last 2 or 3 minutes of them leaving.
Right.
So it's only like a 10-minute window, and then they're peppering you with questions, and I'm nervous.
Terrifying.
It's your job interview, and you're trying to put your best foot forward, and I was just nervous, and I was sitting in there and I was like, I would not draft that guy.
Yeah. Well, what the combine is so crazy is everyone sees what happens when you're running and benching and jumping and all that. But really all the scary shit happens.
Oh, that's
those 3-4 days prior.
The running's
when
easy.
When you get to go run, you're finally like, thank God it's over.
Yeah.
Because you get there the first day and it's like kind of introductions. Hey, this is how it's going to happen. This is your lanyard. This is how the train station works. This is how your official meetings work. 4 a.m. you have a piss test.
Yeah.
So it's like the number one rule is like, just do not miss it.
Yeah.
And make sure you don't pee. So I remember I was roommates with Zach Martin.
Yeah.
And we took shoes and we put it on top of the toilet seat just in case you wake up in the middle of the night and try to go pee. And we would be like little accountability buddies. Make sure we're all up together.
Yeah, which is nice rolling.
Though. Yeah, it's what you need.
Because you're nervous.
Because you're up at 4 a.m. for a drug test, and then it's meetings all day, MRIs the middle of the day, and then back to the train station, everything else.
Were you a weight guy? Did you have to keep weight on?
I was always a guy that had to gain weight.
Yeah, so they get you there, and then you can't eat as much as you typically do.
Yeah.
There's no scale, so then when you have to go weigh in, you don't know how much you weigh.
Right.
And they're like, Luke, you need to be over 240 pounds. So you're just in there chugging.
And they have the worst fucking snacks. Like it's all like Reese's cups and Skittles and shit. Yeah. Like, I guess this is what I'm doing.
I got to do it. I got to drink. I got to eat something.
Yeah. IMG did a great job having like food waiting for you. They have themselves a little area where you go and stuff your face.
They had a backpack and they just stuffed it with everything. I'll tell you what, the combine I loved it. It was so cool because you grow up watching it. Mm-hmm. You don't really grow up watching training at IMG. Like you don't really understand that, but you grow up and you watch these guys run the 40 and jump and bench and do all that stuff, and then you get there and you're like, this is sweet. I get to do it's like your first step to the NFL.
You have to do a shitload of MRIs.
I had to do it I had to do them on my knees, and I had something on my elbow, but like not a ton. I was pretty lucky.
It's funny too how much everybody, because I know Levante, him being like an undersized guy, the guy's just obsessing over hitting a certain weight.
Got to
weigh in, just so you hit the metric. Like Levante always played like in the like 220 to 225, but he's like, I have to be like 233 pounds.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I never weighed 240 ever again in my life.
Yeah,
Right.
but on that little stat sheet it says 240.
242, and you're like,
oh yeah, dude.
Don't skip me a pound right there.
Yeah, when you step on the scale too, and you saw 242, how juiced were you?
Well, that thing kept ticking up.
Yeah,
and I was like, yes.
Dude, you know what? Another thing that's kind of a sleeper. Did they have the little egg pods?
Yeah, you do that afterwards.
Yeah, so we would do those at IMG like every couple of weeks, like as if anything's gonna fucking change. But like, my body fat would be like, I don't know, like 20 or 19 or something like that.
Okay.
But it had to be in those rooms. They had to have a certain pressure for those things to read correctly.
Yeah.
So when I got to the combine, they had like this open room where it was like being opened and closed a bunch. So my body fat was right at like 15%.
You're like, yes.
I'm like, oh my God, I made a 4% jump in a week. That's crazy. I thought I was killing
I knew
them.
I've been on my shit.
Yeah, I've been on it. What was the most nerve-wracking part for you at the combine from the like athletic standpoint?
Oh man, probably the 40.
Yeah,
because that was the question was how much are you going to weigh and what are you going to run? So I actually had to run it. I ran the 40 3 times.
You mess up on one?
So the first one I run, it goes really well. Second one, because you can't see it, you got to find ways to like get it. You look at your phone and somebody texts you,
right.
But it's not.
They don't do that anymore. Do you watch it now?
No.
Now they have people in the stands and they show your 40.
They show it on the board.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Because it was the same way for me too, where you go up and like a couple of the guys, you're like, hey, what I run? They're like, they're saying X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Oh, let's fucking go.
So then second one comes up, and when you get in that 40 start, there's holes because everybody's been there. So everybody takes like the same like first 2 steps. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of an indentation in the ground. And I was off just a half step to the left. And I took my first step out and I stepped kind of in the hole sideways. And I turned right real fast and almost ran into the laser reader and then straightened it out. And I ran like 4.9. And I was like, oh gosh, that was terrible.
But you're saying that was the second one.
That was the second one.
What was the first one?
The first one was like 4.5, and then I go 4.9, and this guy comes up to me.
Y'all are the same.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, hey, you're going to probably have to run another one. We got a bad reading on either the first or the second one. And I was like, oh no.
Did you know at the point too that you ran a 4.5 in the first one?
Yeah, I knew I ran well. And then the second one, I knew I stepped in the hole, and I'm like, okay, this kind of makes sense. So then everybody had to go run their second one. So I was the last guy after the last guy in the line to go run again. And I ran it again, and I looked at a guy. I was like, how was that? He's like, you're gonna be good. I was like, all right, perfect.
You'd be good. So
yeah,
you were in the 4.5 range.
Yeah, he's like the middle one must have gotten messed up, but it was I stepped in a hole. Or I stepped my step was bad or something.
A little divot or something.
But it's so nerve-wracking. That's just like the only thing that matters.
Either.
What's that?
You didn't want to focus on getting a tan before the combine?
No, of course not.
No.
Hey, you look faster that way.
Did you ever test? Did you ever test
lightning.
in the 4.4s?
No.
At IMG?
I don't think we ever really ran. I think we ran a 40 the first week we were there.
Yeah.
And then everything was just segmented out.
Yeah.
So you work on starts, flying 20s, flying 40s. So you never really get a true number for what you're going to run, but you have an idea. Like I felt good. I felt strong. I felt like my starts were good. And then it's like, just go. I look so stiff running it, but
I know because at IMG,
you're trying to do everything
when you're
right.
training, you're like elbows and this and that and relax your face. I remember I ran a 40 when we first did the 40 at IMG, and I was like a 5'1".
Yeah,
I was like, there's no fucking way. I'm a sub 5 guy, no doubt. But I was like trying to like mechanically do exactly what they were saying the whole time, to where it was just awful.
Part of me thinks that they click it a little bit slower.
I thought the same.
So they're
thing.
like, oh, you ran 5.4. So then when you run 4.9, they're like, look what we did.
Half second faster. we're the greatest things
They
ever.
were unbelievable. Lauren Seagrave, was he there?
I
was he
believe
the track
so.
guy? He was unbelievable.
Older guy, right?
Yeah, he was always wore orange.
Always wore orange. He had the really shiny shoes. And then who was the chick from London? Did you have the girl?
Yeah, she was awesome.
A gangster.
Awesome.
Yeah, she was a great running coach. I can't remember her name right now, which kind of sucks.
I had a ton of fun. Like everything that they did, there was a reason why they did it. It's not like we just showed up and they're like, all right, you're going to do this. And
right.
And I remember running like the short shuttle. It was footwork. Mm-hmm. It was like 7 or 8 steps.
Yeah, right, it's all down to
you're talking about the
5-10-5 or the 5-10-5.
Yeah, because the 5-10-5 was like 2-3-2 or something like that.
Something like
they
that.
had like numbers to it. You're like, okay, this.
If you were somebody
really
who could like
helps.
skip over to the first 5 and just get in like 2 steps, you're like dialed in.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it was amazing. Like all that stuff that you put in for, there's Lauren Seagrave right there.
He is awesome.
He was great.
Dude, so I don't know if you felt this way, but after I ran the 40 and I got the time that I wanted, it felt like everything else was just cake after that.
Yeah.
Because it's so stressful when you're standing up. Because we had, what number were you? Do you remember for the combine?
Oh, I don't.
So what I was
13 maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
19.
I was 23.
Okay.
And my whole thing was like, I just don't want to go first.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm 23. Last name's Lewan. I'll be solid. Well, they broke it up into 2 groups.
Yes.
So it was 1 through 22.
Oh,
so
no.
I was the first guy to go in the second group, and they're like, we're all kind of warming up. Everyone's so stressed out. Yeah, that's my Beyonce walk. And you see that tan.
You look like you're about 15% right there.
Yeah. That's what the body comp said. But that chick, that I can't remember her name, the one from London, she's like, hey, when you run, go to the back of the platform and have your Beyonce walk. Like the whole combine, everyone, you're waiting on everybody.
Yeah.
But once you do that, it's now your time. You take as long as you need, whatever. And so I took all the time in the world because my heart's racing right there. My little gazelle legs.
How good did you think
you see
your
you
walk
step
was?
on the back too.
How'd you think your walk was? You give it a thumbs up?
I was thinking about, okay, steps, you're moving your little feet back. And you're just thinking, please don't get called back on this start.
Yes.
That was what I was most nervous about. Because learning from IMG, they basically tell you like, your first start's going to be your best one or your first 2. After that, you kind of like your brain fucks up, like your CNS or something. So it was, once I ran that and I got back to the boys and they're like, hey, they're saying 4.9 right now. I'm like, all right, I know I'm solid.
Yeah.
I feel good about it.
Is there a team you felt like you knocked it out of the park with in the interview process?
Oh man. You know what? Not really. I don't remember that. I thought the stuff with the Panthers went really good because Ron Rivera obviously played with the Bears. My high school road roommate was Mike Morrissey. He was 2 years older than I was, and he was a great older guy. So when we went on trips on the road, he was my roommate for away games. His dad played with the 85 Bears. He played with the Bears for like 10 years, and he played linebacker with Rivera. So I remember going to the combine and be like, I don't know any of these guys, but I know that Jim Morrissey and Mike Morrissey have said really good things about Coach Rivera and his experience with them and their friendship and playing together in Chicago. So I'm like, at least I have one guy that I kind of have a connection to. So that one was, out of all of them, it was probably the easiest one after I said how bad my interview was on that video. But I felt probably the most comfortable with them because I felt like there was a little bit of a connection there.
Did you feel really confident that it was going to be the Panthers that grabbed you in the first round?
I thought there was a chance. So you kind of looked at like teams that I took a visit to Carolina. So I met with them at the combine. I took a visit down there pre-draft. And I kind of knew like 9 to 15 to 20 because 15 was Seattle and they drafted Bruce Irvin, and then they ended up with Bobby in the second round. Mm-hmm. So they were going to draft a linebacker. I thought Buffalo was at 10. I think they drafted Stephon Gilmore from SC. And so I thought it was going to be one of those teams. I also took a visit to Tennessee. So I think it was, oh man, who did
they actually, that was, but they did draft a linebacker and it was Zach Brown.
Zach Brown. He was a Chapel Hill kid.
Second round.
Yeah. He could fucking run.
Dude, Trent Richardson.
Yeah, I don't know where they drafted, what point.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit. I want to see who they took.
Who are you talking about? The Titans?
Yeah, Kendall Wright.
Yeah.
Damn.
But it doesn't seem like they would have got him anyway.
You knew who was on
Yeah, true. Should have traded up.
Yeah.